Hi everyone, it's Aga from EurekaCrystalBeads.com and I'm here with a super fun, easy beading tutorial for you. But before I get started, just a quick reminder to check out the rest of our channel, and if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss any of our content. So in today's video, we're making this lovely and very simple bracelet that is not quick to make because you do need some patience. It does take some time, but it's very simple and it looks so gorgeous. I called it Berry Swirl because these 6mm round beads look a little bit like berries, cranberries for example, and they go in a spiral, so it looks a little bit like a swirl. So this is the first quite simple and fun thing that you can make with our February 2025 collection, Berry Frost. This is the inspiration picture for this collection and obviously for this bracelet. So do go check that out, and in the meantime, let me tell you all about the supplies you need to make the bracelet. As I mentioned, all of the beads and findings that I'll be using to make this bracelet are from our February 2025 collection, Berry Frost. But if you don't have it, or if you're watching this a little bit later, here is what you're gonna need. You're gonna need some seed beads, and that will be Miyuki's for me, 11 O's and 15 O's. You're gonna need some rounds or some pearls. Here I have these absolutely gorgeous, beautiful red round beads. These are check pressed beads and they are 6mm. So that's the size that I think is good, but 4mm or even 3 or 2mm will be fine because this is a very accommodating pattern that we're going to be using. So you can use any size that looks good to you. Maybe 8 would be slightly too big, but could work as well. Then for the clasp for our bracelet, I'll be using one of my favorite types, which is this ball and socket clasp. It just pops in and out. I really like the way it kind of snaps into place. But the collection also includes a very nice button that you can use to make a clasp, and to do it you just attach it in a similar way as I will show you in a minute, and on the other side you just make a loop big enough for this to just barely go through. But as I said, I'll be using this ball and socket clasp for this one. And that's it for the supplies basically. You're also going to need a needle, of course. I'll be using size 12. And some thread. I'll be using 6-pound Fireline in Smoke, so it's a dark one. You can also use white, but it's going to be a little bit visible among the seed beads, and that's why I'm using a dark one to match the shade of the beads more or less. It's going to be showing a little bit in those check rounds, but not very much. It's still going to be very pretty. If you want the check rounds to kind of look a little bit lighter, you can use white, but as I said, it's going to be visible a little bit among the beads. All right, why don't we start beading? All right, so I started out by putting on an uncomfortably long piece of thread on my needle. That's more than a full wingspan. That's because I don't like adding on new thread as I go, and we're gonna start at the beginning and finish at the end. So unlike some of my other bracelets that you can watch tutorials for on our channel, you cannot just finish your thread on one end and start from the back this time, because this bracelet is herringbone stitch, so it kind of has a front and a back, or the head part and the tail part. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with one end and add the clasp right away. And the first thing I do is I pick up 4 11/0s, slide them down the thread, and I'm going to go through 2 of them. Just like that. And this is where I'm going to attach my clasp. So what I picked up are 2 11/0s, 4 15/0s, then my clasp, 4 15/0s. I brought them down my thread to the first little bit that I did. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the second of the 11/0s that I added back towards that first one, but only through the second one, not through the first one. I'm going to pick up another 11/0, and I'm going to go back through these 2 beads. And when you pull that together, you get kind of like a flexible clasp that can go like this and like this. so it will basically always lay well on your wrist. It won't be sideways. Now I'm gonna go through all of that 2 more times to secure the connection. So basically through my 3 beads here, plus the one that connects the 2 sides here, then through my 15-ohs, clasp, 15-ohs, and back, and I'll do that 2 more times. Alright, so as I finish attaching my clasp, I end up actually coming out of the same bead that my tail thread, but I'm just gonna ignore it. I'm not gonna worry about that for now. I like to hold on to my tail thread as I go, just for stability. So I like that. So basically throughout the bracelet, you're just going to do one thing. We're gonna be making a spiral herringbone chain. And the way you do this is you pick up 2 beads, just like in regular herringbone. It's not much more complicated, but you go through 2 beads down on the other side, of course. So down the second row of beads, or second column of beads, actually. So as you can see, I'm basically 3 down now because I just added these top 2. And I'm gonna go on the other side, back up through 2. So as you may notice, I'm not going in the beads on the same level as the bead that my thread is coming out of. I'm actually going through a bead 1 level up. Like this. And this will start kind of at one point. Right now there's a lot of thread in those beads, but at one point this is gonna kind of twist. Now we're going to be adding our red berries as we go and as we make the herringbone rope or chain. And you're gonna do that by not adding new beads this time. So 2 down, and now I'm gonna pick up an 11-oh, then my round, and then 3 15-ohs. You can also just use 1 at the end, but I like 3 because it creates a little bit of a picot at the end of the berry. I'm gonna slide that all the way down. And I'll go through that round and that 11-oh that I first added. And I'm gonna go just through 1 bead now. So I'm coming out of here, out of the second one from the top, and I'm going through the first at the top there. I'm gonna hold on to that round bead. Make sure the thread doesn't go around my clasp, which it did. I'm gonna pull tight because I wanna see this nice little triangle on top here. And now you just add your 2 new beads and do the same exact thing. 2 down, and this time 2 up. And now to space these berries out a little bit across the bracelet, I'm going to go 3 rows the regular way. So I'm picking up 2, going down through 2. And again. So actually we're gonna have 4 beads between the berries. So there's berry, then 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm gonna go back down through 2, add an 11-oh, my round, and 3 15-ohs. Slide them down and go through the round and the 11-oh, and now 1 bead up. Make sure you pull tight. I will now add 2 and go down the exact same route. Only now you may notice it will be 2 11-ohs up. Now without adding new ones, again, I go 2 down, add my berry, 1 up, and now add 4 pairs in total. And you just continue doing that until you've reached your desired length. Alright, so I finished my bracelet. Look at this lovely spiral. And actually about halfway through, I had to add a whole new, almost a wingspan of thread. And I did this by just stopping my herringbone stitch. And I went down a few beads, tied a knot, and wove in the tail. I did the same here next to the clasp. And I added new thread by going up several beads back from where I finished my previous thread. I tied a knot and started beading as usual. Now I'm gonna attach the other end of the clasp and I'm gonna do it the very same way. So I start with 2 11-ohs, 4 15-ohs, my clasp, the other end of it, and 4 more 15-ohs. Now this end of the clasp has a slightly larger hole, so it will kind of slide over the 15-ohs. Don't worry about that. You just get your clasp and your beads down. You go around and pass through that second 11-oh that you added. Now we're going to add one more 11-oh and go through the other bead, 2 beads actually. These 2 beads here, so I'm just doing a standard spiral still, like this. So I'm going in 1 level up. And now through all of these beads in the loop twice more to secure them. All that's left for me to do is tie my knot. So I just go under some of the threads in between beads, make a loop, go through that loop, pull that down. Here's another loop. So I go through it, I pull that down and hide the tail of my thread in the beads. So here is my finished bracelet. For my wrist, which is under 7 inches, I used 36 of those 6mm rounds. You can space them out a little bit more if you want to use fewer of them. If you want kind of a more loose spiral. You can find all the supplies that are needed to make this at eurekacrystalbeads.com. Don't forget to check out our February 2025 collection Berry Frost. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next tutorial. Bye!